Spanish flu. And this photo is actually featured in a history book. I couldn't find it online, but one of my cousins put up a post, and this was one of the pictures in the history books.
Oh, wow.
And then going on to when they were all older. Oh no, don't do it. Okay. So then these are my abuelo and his brothers. So all three of them, except for my Uncle Joe, because he had flat feet, they all went to World War II. So my abuelo, he was in the Pacific, in the islands. My Uncle Leo, he was in England, and he was a bombardier. He was one of the people that went in the airplanes, and he was the guy that went on the bottom and shot the machine guns. And my Uncle Fred, he was in France, like Europe, and he held a bazooka and he defended the tanks. So, my great-grandmother, because 3 out of her 4 kids went to the war, she prayed to the Virgen de Guadalupe and said if all her sons came back, she would take a pilgrimage to Mexico City and climb the temple to pay respect to her.
Yeah, wow.
Every one of them survived, and they all had to walk to the temple. Yeah, so it's pretty.
What is that temple called?
El Temple Mayor.
Okay.
And then to Mexico City, they used to be called Tenochtitlan, where the Aztecs were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you could climb there now, but I know in the past you were able to climb up there.
Yes.
This is like in the 1940s, like over 60 years ago.
Okay.
No, 70.
Wow.
80 years now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like 80 years because we're in 2020.
Wow.
Okay. Okay, and then they all survived, and those are my abuelos right there. And this is my abuelo when he was celebrating his 90th birthday. Yeah. And then there they all are. And then this is a picture of my abuelo when he was in the war. Well, not in the war, but he was in the American Latin Legion, and that was his thing. And he did very heroic stuff, and he earned the Bronze Star and the Purple Heart.
Wow.
And he wasn't given them when he got out of the service, so my brother wrote a special letter to I guess I forgot exactly who, but he was awarded his medals when he was about 85, 86. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So the Bronze Star is when you did something really heroic. So during the war, his platoon, they were scouting, and then they came under enemy fire. Everybody died but my abuelo.
Oh, wow.
And he was wounded in battle. And he was able to figure out how to rewire his radio to alert the headquarters, so this way they wouldn't get injured. So that was really cool. That's what he got.
Wow.
That's my abuelo Arthur, and this is my other grandpa Louis, and he was in Europe. He never talked about the war, so I have no idea what he did, but I'm pretty sure it was some really interesting stuff. But this is my Louis, and then this is on my dad's side, so these are my dad's parents. So this is Louis and Celia, and here they are in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
We live in a town, Peak Rivera in California, and when they retired, they did a lot of community service and they helped a lot of people. So a lot of people know our last name and they know my grandparents. And then we're getting on to the fun part. Okay, so in the 1970s, do you guys know who this is? So we have Cesar Chavez right here and Dolores Huerta. So this was like in the 70s. So he was the leader of the United Farm Workers Association, and he fought for rights for farm workers. This is in the 70s. So my parents, when they were in college, they were recruited to help him with his cause because he had just started. So this is my parents. They were in a march, and they went to lots of stores, so they would tell people to boycott grapes. Uvas is grapes, and they also said to boycott lettuce. And then they would wear these pins, and then they would hold up the flags and tell people not to buy those things. That's pretty cool.
Now let me ask a question. Why do you think they were boycotting grapes? Can't hear you.
Grape farmers didn't get paid that much.
Grape farmers? Were they the farmers, or were they the ones who picked the grapes? Excellent, excellent.
So the farm workers, when they were working in the field, they didn't really have access to water. water or to bathrooms or even to really good housing. So that's how Cesar Chavez grew up. So when he was older, he vowed to help the workers, and that's why farm workers, especially now, they have lots of rights. And then when Cesar Chavez died, my family and I, we went to his funeral.
Oh, wow.
So there was a huge march in Delano, California. I think it was like a couple miles. So me and my family are here somewhere, but we're like in the back. There were so many people, and we marched to the site where he was being buried, and that was here. I'm not exactly sure where it was, but as you can tell, it's kind of pixelated. There's like a ton of people. It was really, really, really cool. And this was like in 1993.
Okay.
So me and my mom, and then my brother and me, and my dad, we all went. That's pretty crazy.
So I have to ask a question. So that's 1993. In 1963, in African American culture, in American culture, who would that person have been? Martin Luther King.
Yes.
And what was he boycotting? Was he boycotting grapes? But what was he boycotting? Huh? What was he boycotting? Racism. But in that situation, remember the Montgomery bus boycott? People weren't getting the same money for working. So what they did was they boycotted the buses because people weren't getting paid the right salaries. They weren't, like she said, like the sanitation workers. They were not even able to come out of the rain. And so he led boycotts. So who we celebrate, who we know familiarly is Dr. King. In the Hispanic culture, they celebrate Cesar Chavez, right?
So he was a very important figure, especially for Latinos. So this way, he had a slogan called "Si se puede." So right here, his slogan was "Si se puede." Yes, you can. And because he said that, it inspired lots of, Hispanic Americans, Latinos like myself, to go to college, to better ourselves, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I like that. Is that one right up there? Si se puede. Si se puede.
Si is yes, you can.
Oh, wow. I like that.
Yeah.
I like it in Spanish, too. Sounds cool, huh?
That's pretty cool. So my parents were inspired by Cesar Chavez to want to make a difference in their community. So my mom became a teacher.
Oh, wow.
So this is my mom. This was during COVID. She was stuck at the house, and she wrote this message to her students in Spanish because she teaches Spanish, and those are her dogs. So she's been teaching for 46 years. This is her 46th year.
She's still teaching?
Yes. She said she's retiring this year, but probably.
Wow.
Yeah. So she says that, I think she says she misses you. She wants to give you lots of smiles and big hugs, something like that. My Spanish isn't all that great. But, so my mom's been teaching in city, El Monte, California for the Mountain View School District for the past 46 years. And then since she did so much work, she was given Teacher of the Year in 2015 in her district. So she has history in her district as one of the influential people.
Wow.
So she's at the point where the great-grandchildren are now in her classroom. That's how many kids she's seen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's what my mom was inspired by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta to become a teacher. Same thing for my dad. So this is my dad, Mike. And he was a junior high teacher. He really taught 6th grade, and he taught for 30 years. And he also taught in the Mountain View School District. He had to retire early because he became sick. And he passed away very suddenly, but because he was so loved and well known at his school, I'm sorry.
I understand. Get some tissue for me, Jarvea.
Sorry guys, I didn't think I would do this.
Oh.
So there's a bench in the office, and this way everyone can remember him. He's a really cool guy. So he had taught a long time, so he was at the point where, like, like the sons and daughters of his ex-students, like were in his 6th grade class before he retired, so it's pretty cool. That was pretty cool. So yeah. And then finally, here's my Uncle Marty, because this is people that have contributed to local history places. So this is my Uncle Martin, or Marty. So he was a superintendent for the LA Unified School District in District 6. That was somewhere in LA, not really sure exactly where. And he was also a superintendent for Bassett Unified School District, as well as the El Rancho Unified School District, which is in Pico Rivera, which is where my family's from. So it was kind of funny. So what he wanted to do is he wanted to make a preparatory academy, which he did, and he named it after the first Hispanic woman astronaut, Ellen Ochoa. So
Oh,
that's one
wow.
of the schools in the district. It's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then he's retired, so they're all still in California. Yeah, so those are that. So that's my family and how they contributed to the history in their local community. And now we're gonna go over some of my favorite Latinos. So we'll start with Linda Ronstadt. She's a famous singer. She made a tribute to her Latino heritage, which is with the album called Canciones de mi Padre, where she sang, I guess like cultural songs in Spanish. It was really good. Don't understand a lot of them, but it was a lot of popular songs from Spanish culture. I mean Mexican culture too. And then here's one of my favorite people, Sonia Sotomayor. She's a judge. She was the first Hispanic American to serve as a member of the Supreme Court. And she's from the Bronx and she's Puerto Rican. Yeah, so she's pretty cool. Yeah, it's really good. And then we have Frida Kahlo. And she's an artist. Y'all know Frida Kahlo. So I actually went to one of her exhibits. I'm not sure what it was. I think it was at the LACMA, the LA County Museum of Art. And my brother was missing for half an hour. And my parents went crazy trying to look for him, but he was in front of one of her paintings, had been there for half an hour. And it was of a deer with lots of arrows in it, because my brother was into, you know how boys are. So that's why I remember Frida Kahlo, and she had a lot of really cool paintings there. So she's really cool. And she was married to Diego Rivera. They were very eccentric.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So she was married to Diego Rivera. He was an artist too. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. Then we have another singer, Gloria Estefan.
Mm-hmm.
Another famous singer. I think she's Cuban.
Cuban.
Not really sure. I forget.
I think Cece did her.
Yeah.
You did her?
Yeah.
Gloria
Is
Estefan?
she from? She's from Cuba? Yeah. So she's really cool. I liked her. I like her music a lot. And then finally we have Jose Hernandez. He is he's an astronaut. He's a Mexican American astronaut,
Wow.
and he was turned down. Can't tell you how many times by NASA. Oh, here, 11 times. And he was finally selected in 2004 to be an astronaut. So I like him because he teaches you that you persevere, and when you persevere, you will get to where you need to
Yes.
go. So when you fall down 10 times, you get up 11.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important that once you have a setback, don't let it get in your way, and then you continue on, because look, you can be an astronaut. You can be anything you put your mind to.
Look at that part right there. It says he didn't learn English until he was 12. Until he was 12. And even though he didn't learn English till he was 12, it said he earned a master's degree in electrical and computer engineering.
Yeah, that's why I put that up there. And
That's
it says
huge.
here, as a child, he worked as a
Farm worker.
So do you think he went to school a lot, or he was busy working?
Busy working.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So yeah, that's it. Yeah. Any questions? Any of y'all have any questions? Comments?
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
What you think?
So that's my family and my favorite, Latinos. Yeah.
So let's make a connection. How do you connect to what she just said? How she just represented her culture. Is your culture important? Notice how it wasn't just like she could just name like Cesar Chavez. She actually showed the impact of Cesar Chavez's sacrifice on her family's life. It's not enough to just call Dr. King What did his sacrifice? How does it show up in your family? All right. Anybody? I need somebody to say something profound. Who can make a connection for me? Who can compare to the person that you have? Tell me the person that you had to research and compare them to this person, right? Her family. You want to try?
I had Bruno Mars, and if I compare it to her family, that Bruno Mars did it rich because he was broke growing up too, and I'm trying to remember some of the stuff.
Did he persevere? Did he overcome? And what did he use to persevere and overcome? What was his character trait that allowed him to persevere and overcome? He was what? He was a singer, but what was his character? What was in his heart that caused him to persevere and overcome? Who wants to jump in there? What was in his heart that caused him to persevere and overcome? What's in your heart that makes you persevere and overcome? What do your parents teach you? What do they give you? What do they inspire? Love. I mean, that's a real big word, but give me something else. Thinking of a word that starts with F. Family. Faith. Thinking of another word that starts with C. Courage. Character. And the last word that I'm thinking of that starts with an H. Help and hope. So all of those words we get from our family, and no matter what our circumstances are like, I'm looking at generations. That right there, that story is awesome. Awesome. No matter what's going on, if you have hope, help, character, family, faith, guess what? You still have a chance to succeed, right? All right. Thank you so much. Let's give her a hand, y'all. Now, before I turn this off, I got one last thing. Tell me why you are Hispanic, but you aren't fluent in Spanish. That's like, you got to tell us the story. You got to tell us, give us the tea.
Okay, fun fact. So I'm Hispanic and I'm also Latino. Hispanic means you have ethnic roots in Spain. So I have Spanish roots on my dad's side, which is why my last name is Galindo. It's for whatever reason, it's, a Spanish surname. And then I'm also Latino because you're from Latin America. So Mexico, Central America, Southern America, they're all connected. So those are considered Latin countries. Cuba and Puerto Rico are also thrown in there. So on my abuela's side, my family is from Mexico City, as well as Zacatecas and Torreon. And then everybody, my great-grandparents, and Cuba, I forgot, sorry, Cuba, on my mom's side. So everybody, except for my dad's side, they immigrated from Mexico and Cuba, so my mom's side immigrated here. But my dad's side, they were already here in Arizona. I'm not sure when, but they had been here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So when everybody was growing up in the 20s, when they went to school and they spoke Spanish, do you think the teachers liked it? No, they said, you need to learn English, so they got in trouble and they usually got hit with the ruler, like on the knuckles. That's what they did back then. So when both sets of grandparents grew up, they told themselves that they would not teach their kids Spanish because they wanted to make sure that they would not get in trouble at school like they did. So for that reason, I didn't learn Spanish. My mom didn't learn Spanish either, and we all had to learn Spanish in college.
Wow. Wow. That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story. Cool. So how would you feel to be deprived of a part of your culture because of what somebody else thinks? What do we call that? Because of what somebody else thinks. What do we call that? Starts with an S. Starts with an S. When I'm judged, starts with an S. You make an opinion about me, starts with an S. Stereotype, thank you. So how does that make you feel? How would that make you feel because of a stereotype somebody else has about you? And they tell you how you could talk, how you should wear your hair, how you should dress. How would that make you feel? Disrespected. What else? Give me another word. Upset, yeah. So, despite all of that, though, despite all of that, they still made it, right? So, despite all of that, can you still make it?
Yes.
Can you still make it? Promise me you're going to make it. Promise me that one day your picture is going to be on the front page of a magazine, right? We're going to do that, right? Okay. Thank you again. Give her a hand. Give her a hand.